Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance to working Rhode Islanders. We hope you enjoy this edition.
Welcome to Labor Vision. My name is Erica Hammond, Workforce Labor Liaison at the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision is a production of the Institute as well. Joined with me tonight is Jim Vincent, President of the NAACP Providence branch. Thank you so much for joining us, Jim.
Well, Erica, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you're here to talk to us tonight about the upcoming census, some work on workforce development, and several intersectional issues affecting both communities of color and the labor community, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm super excited to have you here. You're a great friend of mine. And so can you please give our audience an idea of what you've been so busy working at the State House on?
Well, the NAACP Providence branch has, first of all, been in Rhode Island, in Providence since 1913. So we've been around for 106 years, and we've been working on issues of discrimination and issues of inclusion throughout our history here. So in this current session, we're working on about 5 different bills in terms of support. One is equal pay, one is a $15 minimum wage, early voting. There is a source of income discrimination bill that's out there, as well as fair chance licensing. The other bill, I think, is the banning of the sentencing to youth to life without parole. And we are also heavily involved in making sure that the diversity of the judiciary is front and center. Earlier this year, there were only 2 judges of color out of 90. We work with the governor, we work with the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, and the Judicial Nominating Panel. And as of this taping, there are now 5 judges of color in the judiciary, and more to come, I hope, in the next couple of months. So those are the things that we've been focused on primarily with the legislature. But as you mentioned, the census is vital. We have to count everybody. The census always counted everybody. So I represent communities that in some cases are hard to count. I know in particular the 18 to 24-year-old African-American male population is hard to count. So I've, lent myself to be part of the governor's task force on this census. And so I've worked with pretty much with the communications team in trying to make sure that everybody is counted, because as you know, funding for a state is dependent on how many individuals live in that state, all individuals. And if we don't count everybody, we're going to lose vital federal funding, as well as possibly a congressperson.
We just had, I believe, Senator Sandra Cano on the show to talk about the census as well. And you mentioned that you are on the governor's commission working on this?
Yes, I am. I was appointed along with Senator Cano. There's about 60 of us to work on every single aspect of how to get a complete count. Right. It's called the Complete Count Committee in Rhode Island, because, as I mentioned, all funding is dependent on the census. And so that's the most important thing, as well as the fact that we cannot afford to have just one congressperson. We need both our congresspeople, and we want to make sure that our voices are heard. And so, yes, we don't want to lose a voice in Congress, but more importantly, we don't want to lose funding for all the vital programs that the state has to oversee.
Absolutely. And what is the goal to reach out to these hard-to-count populations?
Well, there's all kinds of strategies that are being talked about, in terms of language, making sure that, there are people that are reaching out in the different kinds of languages that we have. We have, who knows, maybe 100 different languages spoken in Rhode Island. There are a lot of young people that may not know, they understand the importance of it. So to
college
educate
students too, right?
College students, yeah. There's these pockets of students, the elderly, college students, certain groups of people of color. Those are the hardest count communities. So I think that with the 60 of us and others working on it, we'll be able to reach everybody. There's all kinds of discussions about different groups and why they might be harder to count than others, and we've come up with strategies in order to reach those particular groups. Okay. So I think that we're going to have more success than we might have had in the past, because we realize the urgency of the issue.
Absolutely. And I imagine those strategies are taking into account that the majority of this count is going to be done online, right?
Yeah, that could be an issue too, because there are a lot of people that don't have computers, and so they're going to have to do it through the traditional paper way. And for many, they may not be used to this. They might be newcomers to the country. We have a concern, and I think you probably heard Senator Connell express that. There's some thinking in the White House and in Washington that maybe we should put a citizenship question on the census.
I've heard that.
Well, that would have a chilling effect on our state, because we have a lot of people that are, either immigrants or first generation, and something like that would give people pause in whether or not they would want to fill it out in the first place. And again, I said the census is to count everybody. There's never been a citizenship question on the census before. In the beginning, when they had the first census, I think in 1790, slaves were counted, and certainly slaves weren't considered citizens. So that was how important, it was to count everybody, every single person. So it's kind of disingenuous to now talk about citizenship when the census began by counting everybody, including slaves, which were the last people you can imagine that were considered citizens, let alone human beings.
Absolutely. Now, for both of our organizations, reaching out to communities and talking with members is what helps us get stronger. So this is definitely a situation that we need to be sending out and having info sessions on, because just specific to that citizenship question, something like that, I think fear alone would make it so that people are afraid to just even fill it out. And
that's understandable. So that's why we don't need that. And the jury's out on that right now. I don't think that there's been a decision, but I think, well, I don't think, because who knows how that's going to go. So I don't even want to speculate, but hopefully it won't be there, because it'll have a disproportionate impact on a state like ours, which is very diverse, as opposed to other states where you don't really have the immigrants. And, so we want to make sure that we don't have barriers placed in our way like that in terms of getting that complete count.
And what is it we need? Is it 20,500 individuals we need to count?
20,500. I'm not sure.
If we don't identify 20,500.
I'm not sure of that exact number that would trigger the loss of a congressperson.
Right.
Not sure what that number is, but we're pretty much on the line.
Yeah.
So
it's critical to.
I don't know what that number is, but the fact that we have having this discussion means that we need to count everybody.
Right.
If it's that close that we're talking about, it's too close for comfort.
So it's important to get the word out now.
It's important, and so shows like this are very important to get the word out. I know I've had a census show on my show, the Jim Vincent show, and I'm prepared to go on everybody else's show if need be, because it's just that important. Right. It's all hands on deck at this point. So I'm glad we're talking about it, because it's really vital. Funding for our state, I mean, what's more central to the vitality of a state than federal funds coming in? And even with the funds that we have, we need more. Right. So we definitely can't lose anything.
No, we can't afford to.
No.
Now, in regards to the workforce development piece, there's, as you know, there are so many apprenticeship programs that are run through the unions. And do you think that the young men and women now that are going into the workforce are interested in taking part in these apprenticeship programs, or they're interested in these fields of careers?
I think that they are, because a lot of youth just don't feel they want to go to college. I mean, it's not in their plans. Certainly they should have the option, and I strongly feel that people should have a choice in that. They shouldn't be told that they're not college material. I think that's really bad. But if a person understands that college is a possibility, but they choose to go in another direction, then certainly we need to prepare those people for the workforce. And in terms of being in the trades, we all know those are very good jobs, good paying, and they provide good careers and stability for families and communities. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that, would be interested in it if they knew exactly how to go about it. I think the toughest part about it is them not knowing what the opportunities are.
Right.
I know you do a good job in terms of getting that word out, but we continue to have to find new ways to get the word out even more.
We can always be better and more strategic.
You can always be better. Even when you're an A student, you can always be an A+ student. So you can always be better, and I'm willing to work with you to make sure that that word gets out, because our communities are disproportionately hit by people that perhaps maybe don't want to go to college, or maybe are not prepared enough to go to college, and an alternate, like having a career in the workforce, in terms of the trades, might be ideal.
Right.
So, I myself, I'm gung-ho about that. I myself, went to college and grad school right out of high school. However, that's me, and I feel that everybody's different. And for me to not realize that people would be better suited in terms of something they're interested in, something they're good at, let's go for it.
What do you think is the best way to get young individuals interested in these jobs? Right
Well,
now?
it's probably going into the high schools, probably, because that's where they are.
Right.
So if you go into all the high schools, you catch them right where they're already gathered, and just give them information in terms of what their possibilities are. Like I said, I remember when I was in high school, just a couple of years ago, I was in the college preparatory program, but back then, in order to graduate, you had to do a year of machine shop, a year of woodwork, 4 years of mechanical drawing. That was in the college preparatory course. They realized that you may not be interested in going to college at the end of the rainbow or at graduation, so they wanted you to be more well-rounded and be better prepared. So I do remember being required to take machine shop and woodwork and mechanical drawing as a requirement to be in the college preparatory course in a public high school. Now, a lot of that has gone by the boards over the years, but maybe we need to rethink that and probably reinstitute those things, because what was good for us, it certainly could be good for the kids today.
Absolutely. Programs like that help you figure out what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And
absolutely.
Someone told me when I was planning for college that it's just as important to learn what you want to do when you continue as learn what you don't want to do. Right?
Yeah, I think that year of woodwork, that year of machine shop, and those 4 years of mechanical drawing, as well as 4 years of French. I mean, you had that too. It just made you a more well-rounded person, and it did give you more information in terms of making that informed decision on whether or not you want to go on to college or not. Not everybody that I graduated with in that program went on to college. One friend of mine, John Bell, we all started with New England Telephone back then. They heavily recruited students of color back in those days, and we all, about 40 of us, started with New England Telephone after graduation, and a number of us stayed with the company. And John made the right decision, because about 5 years ago, he retired as the Deputy Director of HR for Verizon. Wow. And he was one of my high school classmates, sophomore, junior, senior year. We started with New England Telephone on the same day. He stayed, had a career with it, and did very, very well. So for him, it was the career that was more important than maybe going on to college. And so he actually made a very good decision.
Right.
He's retired, and I'm still working.
Oh no.
So good for John.
Well, on another note too, last week you attended our Leadership for a Future graduation ceremony at the State House. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was great.
And we actually had one of our speaker for the graduation, Nicole Tingle, is the secretary, treasurer?
She's the secretary of our branch.
Okay.
So I was thrilled.
Yeah, and she was elected by her classmates to speak, as you know. And so every year we have this Leadership for a Future program that I know you're completely aware of. You come to speak every year.
We're a partner.
Yes, exactly. And every year you're able to get us participants. And we're so thankful for that, because it helps make the organization, makes the program as successful as it is. So I will definitely be reaching out to you soon.
Hopefully we'll be able to give you 1 or even 2 students every single year. It's a great program. I believe in the program. You're doing an excellent job coordinating it, as well as George Nee and Bob Delaney. And I want to be a full partner.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. I know you have a busy schedule.
Well, no busier than yours.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're just about out of time. Once again, my name is Erica Hammond. Joined with me tonight was Jim Vincent from the NAACP Providence branch. You're watching Labor Vision. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you back next week. Have a great night. Welcome to Labor Vision, a production of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. My name is Erica Hammond, and joined with me today are Principal Officer Matt Taibi and Business Agent Matt Maini of Teamsters Local 251, here to talk to us about the tentative agreement with Centrex distributors, as well as union solidarity and a new bargaining unit. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with Centrex Distributors. Can you guys tell us a little bit about this company, who they are, where they're located, and what they do?
And Matt could elaborate, but Centrex Distributors is the largest, in the state of Rhode Island, the largest distributor of beer, wine, and hard liquors. It's a number of beverage companies combined into a transportation company. So.
Correct. It's a very unique transportation company. You have Horizon Beverage, Providence Beverage, Maini Beverage, and 10 other entities all in one building that feeds Centrex, and Centrex carries those products to and from roughly 1,600 bars, restaurants, and 249 liquor stores.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they cover all of
Rhode Island.
All of Rhode
Yeah.
Island. They're the largest. They basically consolidated quite a bit of those beverage companies: Martinetti, Horizon, Maini, the old Paul Fraden companies. So it's they're a big company.
Big. And how long have you guys been representing those members?
Overall in liquor, probably from the early 50s on,
Wow.
and they evolved over time as companies collapsed into others, and now you have basically McLaughlin Rand, which is Budweiser, and Centrex and Horizon Beverage, and now most recently Northeast Beverage, which is Centrex's soda division, we represent as well.
Okay. And going into this bargaining for this new contract, what were some of the main pieces that you guys needed to address?
I would say there has been a long history of really bad contract language, not very good pay, some issues with our health care. So there were a lot of issues to address that. A long history of long 7 or 9 year agreements, which always helped the company, so that our members needed to be an active part of it and to see the process and actually get a fair deal.
Right. Many of the issues were seniority issues, along with fully funded health and welfare, which is our medical, better just overall work conditions and language about work conditions. And these guys don't have the easiest job in the world, They go out every day, deliver around 80,000 pounds worth of weight, 2 men to a truck. These men work 60 hours a week, every week. They go into basements, they go upstairs, and they deliver heavy stuff. It's not an easy job.
No. And how long was this contract? Did you say 7 years, this past contract?
This past contract, they came off a 7-year agreement, which was basically the original agreement from 1994, which kept getting extended out, and they would just change wages and then not any of the language and leave the same current CBA. So basically from 1994 till now.
Wow.
So we came along and we decided we were going to approach it as a newly organized group, and approach it with the fact that we were going to get people involved so it was transparent, they could see the process, they could be part of the process, and they could learn the process for the future, so that they know that as time goes on, contracts build and evolve to a higher form.
Yep. And before we talk about how you got the members involved, can you tell us a little bit about organizing the non-union parts of Maini companies and Horizon Beverage, and what role that played in bargaining for this new contract?
Well, I would say that's a big factor. It sends a message to the ownership collectively, each part of it. So Horizon Beverage was a couple of years ago. The merchandisers and the draft techs, came to us, and we were able to organize them, and it built a lot of solidarity among. They're basically in the same building in the back, so it built a lot of solidarity with the drivers and warehouse folks. And then most recently, Northeast Beverage which they're at a different location, but certain sodas and soft drinks and
they commingle.
Snapple and Red Bull. So it sent a message that, and throughout bargaining for that, it sent a message like, they tried to bring in Centrex language and Centrex contract issues into it, and the committee there would not accept that. So it sent a message of what was to come in Centrex bargaining.
And to go early on, we really originated with the intent that we were going to organize our own industries within each other. And we really started at McLaughlin Moran when we organized a lot of the non-union side that commingled with our units. We organized them into it, and it kind of spread the word through the industry that, the Teamsters are back, we're here to do business, and we'll take you no matter who you are and wherever you do. And that we went from there.
Okay. And now, how did you get your members involved with this?
We did various things. We had various meetings at the Union Hall / rallies. We did a lot with social media to broadcast it to the world, so these guys knew that there were people out there that cared about their fight. We did T-shirts. We did a parking lot rally where we had T-shirts, hot dogs, hamburgers, and we stood outside in front of the company, letting them know that we were unified in solidarity and that we wanted a fair deal. So we led up over various different steps, involved with social media, involved with Brian Rainville from Joint Council 10, a lot of different aspects that we did that, and just got people energized. It was about turning the light switch back on and saying, the union's here, she's open for business, let's do it, and it worked.
And at all of those events, were those new members, the members that you just organized that are in the same building from Mancini Companies and Horizon Beverage, were they all present?
Yes, our steward Joe Robinson from Horizon Beverage, who's the merchandiser steward now, came over. A lot of his guys came over, showed support, told the guys that if there was a picket line out there, that they would honor it. They wouldn't cross that picket line. It sends a message to the company that these guys are fighting for a fair deal, and that's all these guys want. They just want a fair deal, nothing out of the norm that anybody else wouldn't ask for.
Did that kind of union solidarity put some major pressure, you think, on Centrex?
Yes, because over the years, Centrex has never seen anything like that, or any kind of grassroots organizing drive where it's member on member, and it's not really about the union rep. It's more about what the members want, and the members have the say, and the members are the ones that put the union reps in power, and so on and so forth. So I think that scared the company. They made a few comments at the negotiation table that they thought our committee was out of control, and I said, they're not out of control. This is how it works, and they had to learn too, because they hadn't done it in a long time.
They feel like they're out of control. I feel like that it's so clear when they feel like they're losing control, they have to point. They're out of control, but really it's just you're not in control anymore.
That's right.
The members are.
And that's what the union's there to do, is to wake up that beast and let them know that you're a union. Stand up and fight.
So this agreement that you've been bargaining, the tentative agreement, how do the members feel about it?
Right now, they got a $4.50 pay increase over 5 years. They had seniority issues where they had a red line issue. If you made seniority, you had to wait 3 years to actually be considered a normal employee. We put 30 days, you're on the book, and that whole red line concept is gone. They got bidding rights, they got bumping rights, they got an extra week's vacation that they gave up years back, they got back this one. So overall, there are people that are happy with it. There were 16 different pay scales that the union put in there over time. We were able to condense most of these pay scales by the end of this agreement to 4, and then go back to the table and try to even it all out, much like McLaughlin Moran's contract. So there's a lot of good foundation contract in there to get them up and going for the next agreement. And the whole theory was that we showed you the process in this agreement, and now the world is yours to get next agreement. So, and along with fair pay increases.
Awesome.
I mean, the most important thing is they were so they were at such a low standard relative to their competitors, particularly McLaughlin Moran, that there was a lot of work to raise those standards to an acceptable level. So that alone was a lot of hard work at the table, and to send a big message to ownership that. Our group, our members deserve, a good job.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, these men are the hardest working men I know in the Teamsters. They go day in and day out and perform jobs that most people would never do.
Right.
And to say that you did that 35, 40 years is quite an accomplishment and a miracle within itself. And you know, they're good men, they have good hearts, and they just want a fair deal.
Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, on an equally as impressive note, I hear that the Local 251 has a new bargaining unit in Richmond. Is this right?
Yeah. So yeah, we are organizing, actively organizing Riverhead Building Supply, and we have 2 units, and they acquired. We have Middletown and North Kingstown,
Right.
and they acquired UBS, United Building Supply, in Richmond and Westerly. So we've set out, our organizer and business agent there set out to organize those companies. So we just had a vote last week, and it was last couple weeks ago.
2 weeks, yeah.
And it was successful. We're just waiting on the certification, and we're looking to move forward and grow with make sure that Riverhead can't acquire and then drown out our members.
Right.
Okay.
We want to be able to organize all the places that they acquire, so that we can raise everyone's standards.
Right. Right.
Once again, proving that you can organize within your own industries.
Right.
There's always more to get.
All right, and last but definitely not least, the Stop and Shop strike. We're still talking about it because it's still awesome.
It is. Great victory.
The union solidarity shown by Teamsters Local 251 was incredible.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk a little bit about that, what it looked like?
Well,
You don't have to give all the details away.
one of the most important things about any strike, but particularly this one, is that when there is a strike and there's coordination and there's communication, then where there are Teamster organized delivery, in this case warehousing as well as delivery from Local 25 in Freetown, is that we don't cross picket lines, and that sets those strikers up, as far as in a positive way, leverage-wise against the company. So you're dealing with a situation where the Stop and Shop drivers wouldn't make the deliveries to the stores, and you'd also have UPS drivers not crossing. You have Frito-Lay workers, drivers, merchandisers not crossing. You have Mondelez, Nabisco workers not crossing. You have Pepsi, and it depends on the area. You had in Massachusetts and I think Connecticut, you had beer and liquor.
Northeast Beverage as well, they didn't cross.
Drivers not, Northeast Beverage in Rhode Island, they wouldn't cross soft drinks. So you're talking about union vendors that wouldn't cross. So that meant that even if the public wanted to go into the store, there really wasn't much in there. So that it turned the public even more against.
Right.
Wow.
It's a big congratulations to Dominic. I mean, he put up a great fight, and he was really good and easy to work with, and we were glad we could help in any way we can. Once again, proving that unions are all about solidarity and sticking together to win the fight.
Right. All right. Well, we just had Tim and Dominic on, and they mentioned that as well. It was actually, we had them on a few weeks ago, and the impact that had on winning this was very clear.
Yeah.
Right. Now, just before we wrap up, is there anything for the future that you guys would like to hit on before? I'm sure you'll be back on soon within the next few weeks with another exciting thing. But
so we recently, a month or so ago, we organized school bus drivers in East Providence, and we're looking forward to that process, and gaining some union density in Ocean State Transit, which is an STA company. So that's one thing of significance that's definitely going on.
all right.
And going in the future.
And if you want to get organized, call Michael Simone, our organizer, and we'll take anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Awesome. We'll keep it on the radar. Maybe we'll put it at the bottom of our screen
Fantastic.
too, so
My
everyone
cousin
gets
Mikey
it.
knows his stuff.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
I was going to say, as always, it's a pleasure. Once again, my name is Erica Hammond. Thank you so much. You're watching Labor Vision. We hope to see you back here again next week. Have a great night.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen on this channel 3 times each week: Tuesday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 8 p.m., and Saturday at 5 p.m.